Well, it's been 3 months after my dysfunctional list of the Fairly Odd Parents episodes, so I decided to make a functional list. Episodes where the writers know what they're doing and know how to make the show better. Anyway, let's just get the honorable mention out of the way. Fairly Odd Baby. The reason why it's not on the list is because even if this is kind of the very first episode, well, it's kind of good, but this is the first episode where the seasonal Y era has begun in this show. And it's kind of disappointing as well. Let's just get Poof out of the way. Only for this episode and other episodes, he's actually useful. However, that doesn't make up with everything in this episode. I will say that the moments between Poof and her parents and Timmy is actually kind of great, and I do like the abilities of what the baby can do, but that's all we get from this season 6 premiere, and nothing can date this show anymore, because trust me, after this, everything changed. Now, the reason why it's an honorable mention is because it's at least enjoyable for the most part. It's not terrible, but there are some bad things in this episode, but I'll get to them soon. The great stuff is the relationship between the main characters with Poof, and the humor is kind of funny, but takes it a bit too far for the most part. And the characters just start to change. Yes, I'm not a fan of Timmy completely getting hurt because of comedy, which is very stupid and very disrespectful from the writers. And I will admit that the characters, like Cosmo and the others, are just gonna get dumbed down and even worse. Anyway, let's get back to the good stuff. Despite the episodes half bad, at least most of the scenes are kind of entertaining. Like, at least Timmy puts his foot down even though they didn't mean to. He just got furious at Cosmo for getting puked all over Timmy and all that stuff. And I will kind of understand those scenes way better if only the writers make them more understandable and more smart instead of just goofy and just there for comedy and unnecessary pain. But it's still fine for what this episode is trying to do. This episode isn't good, I just found it okay. I just wanted to get the honorable mention out of the way so I don't have to talk about this episode anymore. Anyway, let's get into number 9. One of the very early Fairly Odd Parents episodes during its time, and this was in season 2, and I really enjoy this episode because of several reasons. One is because the magic lemonade that everyone keeps drinking and just make wishes all over the place. And the reason why there's magic in lemonade is because Cosmo put his sock into those lemonades. Gross, but it's fairy magic. And the reason why Timmy is selling lemonade is because he needs to get tickets for the Crash Nebula on Ice with his friends. He completely keeps failing, and not only that, Wanda can't give Timmy some money because that would be counterfeiting and stealing from other people's possession, which is why he can't be able to get money by wishes. I usually feel bad for Cosmo for working so hard, but he doesn't mind. He's just doing his thing to help Timmy to get the tickets. But other than that, let's talk about half of the episode. Some people are making way too many wishes that it caused chaos around Stimsdale. And oh boy, that mistake that Timmy Turner made was a very big one. Especially that I don't think that you should never give anyone else's wishes, even if you don't expose your fairies, consequences will happen. Which is why I really love about this episode on how it seriously makes the wishes completely out of control from everyone doing it. And just so you know, in the season 10 premiere, they did that, but they did it bad, way bad. And that also takes ideas from the old seasons of the show. Eventually, Timmy Turner saves the entire town by eliminating everything, especially all the money that he earned. Now we won't be able to get to the Crash Nebula on Ice. But when there's one guy who is also one of the workers who makes all the lemonade for Vicky so he can sell it. Vicky, what is wrong with you? And his wish is to see his dad again, which is Doug Disdale Dimmadome. I'm not sure if I spell his name right, but that's the best I can pronounce his name. But anyways, he gives Timmy and his friends an opportunity to see the ice. However, they have to sell lemonade. I would usually feel bad for them, but apparently they're fine for what they managed to get to the ice show. Anyway, this episode was very unique and a very better episode than the season 10 premiere's ideal. Seriously. I'll probably get to that premiere later, way later. Trust me, I need to recharge in order to get everything out of my system to talk about that premiere. Anyway, let's get into number 8. Just desserts. This episode is full of hyper and speed, but it makes sense. Now, the reason why Timmy is completely abandoning all the food and just have the entire earth have nothing but desserts is because he's getting sick of eating the exact same foods with no desserts whatsoever. And this is also a really serious lesson to anyone who ever eats a lot of desserts. If you eat a lot of junk food, you'll become weak and very slow and not be able to control yourself. And I'll get to the speed part later, but for right now, the fat parts in this episode is understandable because Timmy just completely wished nothing but junk food. Usually, this is supposed to be a moral to teach Timmy that eating healthy is important. It can make you go stronger and make you go faster. Now, in my opinion, I really do not like all the healthier foods, but this is a very good moral to kids. Especially when they made the characters completely raw. That is actually one of the funniest moments I found in this episode. As for the characters being out of control, they eat sugar, and sugar rush always happens to everyone. Seriously, even if you try to control it, you can't resist the sugar rush. That's why it's understandable why everything is going so fast. Now, the speediness in this part is not hilarious, but it's understandable. I mean, I found funny as a kid, but later on, I can understand why everyone is going so fast because of the sugar rush they have taken in themselves. So that's why everyone is going so fast and everything has gone out of control. Which is why this episode is so functional because it makes sense. Especially at the end of the episode, Timmy tries to get Rana to wish something, but she can't. She can't lift something because of all the junk food that she eats. And when Timmy finds something healthy, it managed to work just in time before the meteor crashed into Dimmsdale. Yes, there was a meteor crash into Dimmsdale, but it's basically everyone else's fault for eating all the junk food, but they didn't know, but they should learn not to eat a lot. This episode is very entertaining and very great for a moral about not eating a lot of junk food. Anyway, let's get into number 7. Fairy Friends and Neighbors. Why is this episode way better than the parents knowing about the person who has a fairy godparents? It's because they never mention that at all in this episode. This is an episode where the fairies can actually get exposed as adults. Say all you want about this episode. They just done it right in perfection. They don't expose any magic in front of Timmy's parents, even though that there's a flying house all over their heads. But that's not an issue because they just go along with it because Timmy's dad is just the cliched idiot, but I don't blame that whatsoever since they at least done it right in the earlier seasons. As for the jokes, there really are no jokes in this episode because it's all about hanging out. Even though it's kind of sad that Timmy isn't allowed to be on any of the trips that his parents and his godparents are having fun with, at least he has to be with Vicky. Which is just sad. And one of the sad things in this episode is that not only that his parents are not getting along with Timmy, but he also misses his godparents. But nearly at the end of the episode, he throws a party just to cheer him up. But apparently his parents finds out. But he takes the blame on Vicky. She deserves it. I don't care what anyone says. She deserves it. Granted, the relationship has to be broken, and this is the only episode where we get to see fairy godparents and the parents interacting with each other. So, just do not watch the newer episodes. Just stick to season 1 to season 5. Just go with my advice. But anyway, this episode could have been much better, but for what it is, it's entertaining to watch. Let's get into number 6. Power Mad. Why is this on the functional list? Is because they all take place in the video game. End of discussion. Okay, I'll explain why this is on the list. It's about friends hanging out. And this is one of the only episodes where we get to see Timmy's friends hanging out with each other. Which is why I really enjoy this episode, because of how functional it is. And as for the game stuff that they show in this episode, it's very entertaining and very fun to watch. Granted, there's nothing wrong in this episode, but at least Timmy's fairies managed to save him, because when they make the wish on making Timmy to be in the video game, there was some minor setbacks. But at least it's understandable, because they might learn the mistakes the next time they do this. And we get to see Vicky in pain in the video game. Off screen. Won't be much fun if we can see it, but it's a kid show. There should be no violence in this. Anyway, let's get into number 5. Vicky loses her Ikki. This is kind of like the episode in... I forgot the name what it is, but if you saw my dysfunctional list on how I mentioned it in a dishonorable mention, you pretty much know that this episode is kind of similar to this episode. However, this episode is way better than the new episode, because for one, Timmy completely wishes that her babysitter was nice. Sure, it was this bug, but I'll get to that later. Now, this is a very smart move from Timmy. He just wishes that her babysitter was a sweet and more respectful person. Now, granted, it was because of the bug, but then again, I'll explain all about that later. I really can enjoy these scenes because the writers know what to do with the characters. Make the wish happen on the characters so they can have a huge character change. And that's what they did to Vicky in this episode. She completely does all the chores, and Timmy doesn't have to do any of that. But when the bug completely bites on the other citizens in Dimmsdale, chaos happens. To the point where the bug has to go back to Vicky. Which means that Vicky is back on being a bad babysitter until the people take her away because of a joke that they did. I'm saying that because they did a bug joke, and I can't remember the joke, but all I know is that they took Vicky away because of Timmy exposing something that really led to Vicky being taken away. Yes, I didn't explain a lot in this episode, but it's not terrible. For what it is, it's pretty fine. They put the president thing in there because they're showing George Washington and other presidents in this episode. I would say these are cameos, but at least they have something involved in this episode. Especially when the bug eats one of the presidents. Man, I usually blame for Timmy for all this, but he just wants his life more comfortable. Unlike the seasonal 1 era ones. Anyway, let's get into number 4.